Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another spoiler review for Space Jam: A New Legacy. First and foremost, I would like to apologize. I was not streaming on Friday, mostly because I got home from work, wasn't feeling too well, needed a nurse, like a massive headache. It was like a whole thing, but at least it gave a lot of people some time to watch and absorb Space Jam: A New Legacy before like I do my spoiler review. I watched it once I got a little bit better to watch it, and put this up. Yeah, that's pop this up. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I came in this movie with low expectations. I grew up with the first Space Jam movie. I enjoy it. The soundtrack it is still a banger, still a classic. Aside from R. Kelly, who kind of ruined most of that soundtrack, but it is what it is. But uh, I grew up watching Looney Tunes too, just like a lot of people. I love Bugs Bunny. Definitely one of my favorite cartoons growing up. Uh, this movie did definitely made a couple of references to the original without saying it all out. But uh, this movie starts off in the 90s. LeBron, as a little kid, uh, you know, at his little basketball game or practice, a friend of his came over with this old Game Boy game playing this Bugs Bunny game. I'm not sure I recognize it. I remember as a kid on my Super Nintendo, there was a Bugs Bunny side scroller game that I used to play. Forgot what it was called. But I remember having fun with it, except for this one part where like I feel like I was like almost constantly dying and I just gave up on it because it was so irritating. Games back in the day was known to be like, especially side scrollers, were known to be kind of irritating here and there. It wasn't well, there were cheat codes, but remember cheat codes? It wasn't like walkthroughs or anything like that back in the day where we can just look it up and see how you can beat a certain level. Uh, you usually have to get like word of mouth who might have beaten it somehow or figured it out, and then they pass that along, and they pass it along to another person, and so on, and you figure it out from there. But anyway, his coach came by, saw him like playing this, you know, and he was supposed to make some kind of layup or something like that in the middle of a big game. Then they came up short by 1 point. After the game, coach sat him down, telling him like, you won't be, you got the skills, but you won't be the greatest if you spend too much time, playing this and like blah blah blah, and then like what you tell kids. Uh, when I got from that scene is like, would you tell kids, especially around our age, around that time, uh, it kind of does stick with us. So you know, adults should definitely choose their words wisely. It's not like he was necessarily wrong, but it's just like it definitely, in terms of the movie, time wise, it definitely like put me in like a mindset that was kind of like detrimental in some wouldn't have known, but it would have been detrimental in some factoid that would have been unforeseen. So it's just like choose your words wisely when you're trying to like teach a kid certain things. Like, hey, you know, this is all one. Well, of course, video games wasn't like as popular in the '90s. Well, it was popular, but adults of the time did not see it as like a fruitful venture, or at least they think it was like a passing fad kind of situation. Like they didn't think it was gonna be like this monumental thing as it grown to be. But what I would have done is say like, hey, you know, it's all well and good, play this at your own time, but when you're at practice, or you have to practice, or you're at a game, that's all you should be focusing on. It's like you do this at your leisure kind of situation, but when you're on your way to the game, that's what I need you focus on. None of this other stuff. But don't just tell him like, screw the entire thing, because it's like kids need interest outside the thing that they are doing sometimes. Whereas like chess or basketball, tennis, or school or wherever like that, they need a life outside of a main thing they need to do kind of situation. So he tosses the Game Boy away, and then he becomes like this mega superstar that we know him to be. But then he has kids on his own. His youngest son Dom, he doesn't have an interest in basketball like his father. He's making his own video game called Doomball or something like that. And it kind of reminds me of a lot of those like crazy sports games I used to play. That wasn't like your typical sports game. It's like it lets you do like wild stuff like NFL Blitz, if I remember that correctly, where you can just do all these wild stuff. This like zany crap, and it's fun as hell. That's what it reminded me of. But you at this certain point at the beginning of the movie, you meet up with Don Cheadle's character called this algorithm in the Warner Brothers lot called Algorithm. I am not kidding you. Is this? I have no idea why they chose that name. I know I can get a glimpse of why they chose that name, but it's just that, God, I don't know how I feel about that name. It's just that Algorithm, and it's like, wow. I don't even know what went through Don Cheadle's head when they pitched him that name. It's like a kind of a name that could have gone. I don't know how. Like, what was the drawing board to come up with a name for this character? It's like, how many, drafts did they have to go through? Like, what was the previous names that they would have came up with before they landed on this? Because I'm curious. Because Algorithm sounds kind of dumb. And I don't want to like put no race component on it, but it's like you got a black algorithm, and it's like, what's the hippest name you can give this kind of character? Let's give him Algorithm. I don't know, but he, going through like scrolling through like images and videos of LeBron James's career in life or whatever like that, and he figures that he'll come up with this idea himself where he can mix his the popularity of LeBron James with his with his whatevers, and so he can be like more powerful as an algorithm. But as LeBron James and his youngest son go to this Warner Bros. Lot. Now, keep in mind, he was hard on his son because the whole, the whole, he missed the fun out. He took the fun out of the fundamentals of basketball. I play a bit of basketball, not like professionally or like even in high school or or college. I never played in like a serious game. I mean, I played the game, and it's supposed to be fun, at the end of the day. But LeBron in this movie making it like extra serious. It's like he's taking the fun out of the fundamentals kind of situation. Sorry, I'm still stopped up. And he's like not putting him down, but just like he, making it hard for his son to like open up to him, because he's making his own video game, and he doesn't seem like his father is like taking any kind of interest in what he wants. Is all about what that typical the parent wants for the kid instead of what the kid wants. And his mother, played by this woman who was on The Walking Dead and Orange is the New Black. I don't know her name, but she doesn't get much speaking. I mean, she gets speaking lines, but it's just like she doesn't. She nor the other two children, aside from the older son, doesn't get much uh, uh, speaking time in this, because it isn't about those particular three. Because it's got the little girl, then the older son, and they get speaking lines, but the older son, gets enough speaking line just below uh, James and Dom, but they don't pay up that much of a pivotal role outside of encouraging LeBron. And she brings up like, you gotta, yeah, you ever thought about that he doesn't like have any kind of interest in this kind of thing? You should lighten up, kind of, the typical mom thing. But she, yeah, I mean, uh, uh, when LeBron and Don goes to the Warner Bros. Lot to look over this pitch meeting, or this algorithm came up with this whole idea of digitizing LeBron's likeness into like the Warner Brothers, like kind of like a video game-esque type of thing, where it's like you can see LeBron in like Harry Potter world or Game of Thrones, or in the DC world, and then LeBron just called it stupid, and it was a good idea, and it upset the algorithm, which causes him to kidnap James and his son. But it's just, I think it's both, that part is supposed to be some kind of like, I don't know, commentary, or like Warner Bros. Poking slight fun at itself, so far as like, them trying to like, I don't know, what's the word? Just like they trying to do like the whole Ready Player One thing, minus the stories trying to tell through that meta commentary. Because Ready Player One is just talking about how like, you know, like as getting so involved in like video games and everything like that. It's like we don't spend enough time in a real world kind of situation, and it was like it was something to tell. Where this is, it's just like, they understand the jokes behind them, but not, saying anything, if that makes any sense. They're acknowledging it without, using it to say something about it. It's no there's no story underneath it. Yeah, those two get kidnapped. The Don Cheadle is telling LeBron James like, "Hey," and it was like a kind of a funny moment when it's like when they meet Al-G Rhythm, and he's digitized himself to being like even taller than LeBron. It's like, wow, I always thought you was shorter. I always thought you was taller than this. And it's just like as the conversation went on, he like went back to his regular height. And it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. It was like a funny on that one level, but I mean, it's like I didn't expect them to keep going with that joke, but at the same time, it's like, why would you do that anyways? Just to like feel, yeah, it's just to feel bigger. But it's just like he could have just done that, like he did with originally when they went up to the Disney World, and he's in this like Wizard of Oz type of digital head, and he could have just like gone with that and say like, wow, I always thought you would have been bigger than this, and then appeared in his normal self kind of situation. They could have done that instead, but uh he challenges he challenges James to a basketball game. If he wins, he gives his son back, of course, and then if he loses, then he is trapped in the digital world with him forever. So he sends him to the Looney Tunes world, where you get to see, like, as you saw in the trailer, all these different worlds he flies by. You got Game of Thrones world, you got Harry Potter world. Then he lands into like the Looney Tune world, which is at the, I guess, like bottom of the barrel kind of situation. That's, he calls them the rejects. Then he meets up with Bugs Bunny, who's pretty much like kind of gone stir crazy because, I don't know how long ago, but a long while ago, Algie kind of like sweet talk the other tunes into leaving Looney Tune world to expand in these other worlds where you see them in use their skills in other areas. Like they meet up Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner in like the Mad Max world, which I always thought was like a kind of like neat idea. And it's like you get to see like LeBron in like the real humans, in Mad Max kind of stuff. Same thing with the Matrix. They had the Matrix world, and it's like that's where they see Granny and Speed Gonzalez, which he utilizes Speed very well as far as like Matrix dodges, bullet dodges, kind of like what you see in like Quicksilver and like the X-Men movies where he just time just slows down. Similar stuff. But LeBron asked for Bugs Bunny help to recruit a team to play against Algae Rhythm. He wants like Superman. Initially, he wants like Superman, Iron Giant, and King Kong, and all this other stuff, who you see obviously in this movie as cameos. But he obviously doesn't recruit them. They recruit all the other Looney Tunes, and you get a nice little moment where you see Lola Bunny, who's obviously the only legit basketball player among all the Tunes, who was in like the Themyscira with Wonder Woman, going through like those gang, like the Olympic gang warrior trials things. But it was a nice moment when she going all these obstacles while James and Bugs, like barely dodging all of them while like getting nicked and cut here and there. But they're over a lava pit, and Lola has a chance to get to the goal, but then she goes back to get them out. I'm not sure it's just because if they're in like the Amazonian DC world, but they're still tunes. They can like feel pain in some fashion, and by tune logic, they wouldn't die. But I'm not sure if maybe it's because they're not in Toon World, they're in DC World, so they can kind of sort of die. So they, Lola goes back, pulls them out of it, doesn't get to the goal on time, but she still is considered one of the Amazons by Wonder Woman, because to Wonder Woman, that going back for your friends in lieu of a particular goal means a lot more than the actual goal. I always thought that was like a nice scene. There are nice scenes in this. So LeBron's trying to teach them how to play basketball with the little time that they have, and uh, and it was like a gasp moment where while Looney Tunes are just acting loony, LeBron's trying to get them in order because and then Bugs, you know, uh, drawing on the like whiteboard, and while LeBron's trying to go over the plays, he's like drawing all these wacky stuff like different bunnies and as background dancers as he does this like MC Hammer thing, which was kind of funny. Uh, and then he takes the marker from Bugs, making like the other tunes like, oh my god, he just took that marker from Bugs, and it's like he's telling Bugs Bunny off of all people, and he's like telling Bugs like outside the court you can be as loony as you want, but inside the court I call the shots kind of situation. And I just want to take the moment while I'm thinking about this right now. I'm not a huge LeBron James fan. I'm just gonna be real with you guys. I acknowledge he obviously has skill. He is like a legit basketball player. But it's just like, unlike Michael Jordan, who I grew up with, and it's not just because I'm from Chicago or anything like that. It's just that Michael Jordan has had like a certain spark in him that kind of like resonated and permeated throughout the world. Is like lighting a bottle kind of a player, and it's like LeBron James. Like I don't get that from him. I mean, I would have gone with Steph Curry if they was gonna make a Space Jam 2. I probably would have gone with Steph Curry. I think I like Steph Curry a little bit more. Maybe Allen Iverson. I don't know. It's just that I don't know. This is LeBron James. It's like he's not my kind of player. And it's like I see him acting like train wreck, and he was cool in that. I don't know. It's just like I can't articulate into words like so far as like him being like a choice, because I guess to a lot of people he's like the closest thing to the next generation of Michael Jordan type of level. But I don't know. I honestly do not know. I just do not feel like he wouldn't have been my first choice, and I don't know. I don't know. He just wouldn't have been my choice. But in the meantime, like Al G's sweet talking Dom's into helping him create like his Goon Squad. Instead of it being like the Monstars, it's the Goon Squad. Well, speaking of which, the alien Monstars, the little aliens, make a short little cameo. I wish they would have, had more, like at least a slight speaking role. But it's nice to see them. Matter of fact, now I'm thinking about it. Since the first Space Jam movie, I was surprised since we did have a couple of new Looney Tunes shows, which one of them being like them living in like a cul-de-sac, which I love. I watched a hell of a lot of that, especially since it went on HBO Max. It's fun. It's a nice little reboot of the Looney Tunes, and it's like I like that version of Lola Bunny where she's like kind of like a crazy girlfriend. It's funny as hell. She's one of my favorites in the entire show. But I kind of expected to have like the little aliens from the Space Jam movie being like a new addition to the Looney Tunes cast. That's what I would have thought. But unfortunately, I guess it kind of is, but it's never like they're kind of like an offshoot kind of situation. They're not like something you see showing up in like a Roadrunner kind of situation, or like going on an adventure with Bugs in a particular episode kind of situation, which I would have thought it would have been nice. But Dom is like the captain of, because they playing like Dom's team versus LeBron team, so you got father versus son, which people who are tuning in on their phones are getting like digitized and sucked in, kind of like Tron, into the arena, or just in the Toon World, and they kind of make space for everybody just to plop in and watch this game, where you get to see every type of Warner Brothers property since the first creation of Warner Brothers up until current day, all showing up, live action mixed with the cartoons and CGI. It's like, yeah, Iron Giant, King Kong. You get to see Clockwork Orange people, Pennywise, some Harry Potter characters, not like the actual people, but like students from like the Hogwarts school. You get to see like a couple of variations of Batman characters, like the Burton characters, Schumacher characters like Mr. Freeze, who you get like see a lot of behind Algae Rhythm, and standing next to Jim Carrey's The Mask, not Jim Carrey obviously, but you get to see like Tim Burton's Catwoman, and you get to see Adam West's Batman and Robin. It's just like people in like shoddy, off-branded kind of cosplay, because like you see like Catwoman's person's just like Catwoman's kind of a little off, not like, because it didn't have to be like that great of costumes because they're just background characters. But you get to see like the Flintstones, Hanna-Barbera people, you get to see like Jabberjaw somewhere in the crowd, and then you get to see like the real people, popping in. And according to LG, if LeBron loses, it's not just him gonna be trapped there, it's anybody who's managed to be watching. So they'll be stuck in the Warner Brothers world. So the stakes are even higher, including seeing like his wife and two other children are watching and stuff. So they're in danger of being trapped here. So, Algae introduces his goon squad with like the help of Dom, who, to help and create his video game, his basketball game. He watches other, iconic basketball players, and mix them with like different animals, which, like I mentioned before, I don't like fucking spiders, but a female basketball player, like I don't know, I seen them before, but I don't recall their names like that. As one character, like with like a big massive brow, who a lot of people will know who I'm talking about, but he's been mixed with a bird. One woman has been mixed with like a snake, another with a spider, and one mixed with like a clock, because he messes with time. I think they call him Chronos or something like that. And then another who mixed with like fire and ice, and they got different names, but not fire and ice, fire and water. And his title of it, like that character is like got the name of like wet fire, something like that. And it's like, I don't know, comparing them to the Monstars, I think the Monstars kind of left a bit more of an impact. But then again, by comparison, the Goon Squads, with how their powers are given, a little bit more sense than the way the Monstars gain their powers, by just instead of stealing the talent, while they're watching them at a game, and have this little side story of them like trying to figure out what happened and all the other stuff, where it's like, well, it makes sense at the time, but growing up, I watched the Space Jam movie here and there throughout my time growing up, and looking back on it, yeah, sure, it's like it probably did not make much sense on how like certain things went about, but I think it's a little better written on how these Goon Squads was created, because just instead of stealing the actual player's talent, they just utilized the mocap that was scanned and then like applied it into making these digitized characters. So they begin that game, and the first half, of course, just like the previous movie, the first half they getting their butts whooped. But uh, instead of just being overwhelmed, like the monsters kind of like overwhelm the Toons with their just overall strength and skill and speed. Uh, the Goon Squad, well, like the Toons are losing at the Goon Squad because they're not being themselves, kind of situation. If you're not allowing the Toons to be them, they're not going to do so well. And it's kind of like the same way of like if you have them on like a TV show and they're not being loony and they're just being kind of like ordinary, then they're not the Looney Tunes anymore. They're not fun to watch. Or in this case, they're not going to do great at a basketball game or anything if they're not being them. And it's kind of like, I guess that's the story in this, is like allowing people to be themselves. The way that LeBron wasn't allowed to be himself as a kid because he's had to concentrate on being like a great player. So that kind of commentary. But and then also with like the court that they're playing on is based off of Dom's game, where it's kind of like, you get like certain pop-ups kind of situation occurring on the court, like one where you get to jump real high once you land your feet on it, so you get some extra air to make like dunks and what have you. And you get to move like the rim, which kind of like blew LeBron's mind. It's like, whoa, he's like, well, if you would pay attention with your son and how, and with his like game and everything like that, you probably would have known a little bit better about how like this particular basketball game works. So yeah, halftime, they're all feeling like down and everything like that. Then Sylvester like, oh, we got somebody we can bring in to help us out and give us like, the encouragement. We got Michael Jordan, and then of course it's Michael B. Jordan, which, it was leaked. Was it leaked? But like we all found out that he's supposed to be making a cameo in this game. I mean, in this movie, and it's supposed to be like, because obviously if actual Michael Jeffrey Jordan was to have like a cameo in this, it would have been leaked somehow, some fashion, or it would have been like one of the first things they would have brought up just to get more people to watch this movie. And so I like Michael B. Jordan. He's like a cool actor, one of my favorite actors. And it's like, ever since like Creed and like Black Panther, which this movie is directed by Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther. So like, yeah, I always loved Michael B. Jordan. I like him in everything he's in. So he has a little cameo and everything like that. So it was nice to see him. Just nice to see him. But LeBron just come to the realization that, like, they're losing is on him because he's forcing himself onto them, which they're not him. Just like his son is not going to be him, and him trying to force it, not going to work. So he then realized, okay, I'm just going to let he hands the marker to Bugs, instead of doing the whole secret stuff, which I still kind of like in the first movie, where it's like Michael Jordan, or at least Bugs came up with like an idea. It's like, let's give you the secret stuff. Of course, they couldn't have, even though it was water, is like a placebo, just to boost their confidence in the first movie, just to get them ahead in the game. I guess they didn't want to put that in here because they didn't want the whole, that's, it's kind of like the way like they do the whole like candy cigarettes kind of situation back in the day when it's like just sugar, but you don't want to like influence kids to smoke later in life. They don't want like people, you know, using secret stuff as an excuse to like do steroids or something like that. So they just went with like, okay, allow these tunes just to just be themselves, and they're just they'll handle themselves better on the court, which I feel is fine. But the secret stuff thing was just funny. That was my favorite part in the first movie, where it's like they take the secret stuff and they just go ham on the Monstars. And it's like get great comedic timing from like them just kicking ass. But in this, they just doing what they do naturally. So uh uh they catch up in the game, and then Algie goes off on Dom then decides to switch sides and play for LeBron. uh uh but then Algie comes in the game and then decides to just cheat. Then realizing that uh, just like when LeBron tried to play on Dom's game early in the movie, trying to do this certain move, it glitched out the game because it's not recognizing the move, because it's like too like kind of unpredictable of a move. He decides to do that. He decides that if his father do that, then there's no way Algie's, since he's a computer still, cannot, follow that, and he'll glitch out, allowing him not to cheat and, James to score. But he will be in danger of glitching out himself as well. So, Bugs then, as like LeBron was trying to do the move, Bugs snatches the ball, does the move himself, shoots the ball while LeBron intercepts it to finish the shot, and Bugs begins to glitch out because he technically did the move. He don't have to finish the shot just to make it complete. He just had to do the move, so that way LeBron can finish up the game-winning ball, which he did. Then, all the people went back home, including like James and Dom, while the Toons are back in their own Toon world, and Bugs seemingly dies. Then back in the real world, James taking his son to the E3 like gaming camp, which I don't even know if that is a real thing. Is that a real thing? Leave a comment below and let me know if is that like a real thing, because I don't know if that is a real thing. It might be, maybe in LA, but a gaming camp. I know it's supposed to be some video game camps out there in the world, but I don't know if E3 had one. But anyway, excuse me. He takes his son to this E3 game camp. He sees him off, and Bugs shows up saying like, yeah, so like the algorithm pushed me out of the game, and then can I just bunk with you? Oh yeah, sure, you can. We got playing room in the house, and then it's like I guess all the tunes are in the real world too, and then the credits in. But why? That was a confusing part to me at the end of the movie. It's like, why is it that the tunes are the algorithm that, or at least the move that caused Algie to glitch out and what have you, instead of deleting Bugs, it pushes him out. Okay, but why is the other tunes out there the way like Bugs described? The other tunes, his friends, are out too. It's like, how? That wasn't fully explained. It's just that I don't know. It didn't make any much sense to me. But uh, so far as like, if I could give this movie a grade, mm, it wasn't terrible. And I don't know if years down the line it'll, because like Space Jam is like the most nostalgic movie in nostalgic movies, especially when it comes to a '90s movie. uh is really up there, and we look back on it fondly now, especially people in my generations. It's like a cult following pretty much. uh but uh I remember, like, hearing that critics poo-pooed the movie when it came out back in the day. I wasn't really up on like critical reviews or anything like that. I was just a kid. My mother took me to see Space Jam in theaters. I remember that pretty fondly. Me and my little brother went to go see Space Jam. Now, uh, growing up, I always thought the world of that movie. So I'm not sure if kids watching this movie now will see it that way years down the line. I might be wrong. So, like, if this turns out the same way for them as the first one did for me, great. I don't consider this a bad film at all, honestly. I would give this maybe like a C plus, maybe B minus if no, because this is very middle of a road for me as far as like a movie is concerned. I think C plus feels right. It's like it's okay. And if like I had kids one day, I'll pop in Space Jam 1 and 2 for them, give them like into like Looney Tunes and everything like that, because it's like as far as like a like you know, because like Looney Tunes is kind of like kids' first cartoon. Because I think every child should know who the Looney Tunes are. Because it's kind of like the way Superman was the precursor to what we have in terms of superheroes. The Looney Tunes is the bedrock of all the cartoons that we know today. Well, Looney Tunes mixed with the first Disney characters like Mickey and Goofy and stuff like that. You know, those two are like the bedrock of cartoons. Like, we wouldn't have what we have right now if it wasn't for them paving the road, or at least blazing the trail for what we have today, whether good or bad. They were the originators. And yeah, this is all right. It's all right. It's like, it didn't blow my socks off, but it wasn't as terrible as I was dreading it would be. But yeah, that is my review for Space Jam: A New Legacy. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Follow me on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/Talkative Carl. If you have any ideas for other movies that you want me to check out and do a review on, leave a comment, and I will definitely put you on like the priority list, and then I'll check it out and make a review for it, give you a shout out, that kind of thing. There's more discussing videos coming up. Maybe I'll fit in some time for some games. I'm trying to like get through these because I supposed to been doing this yesterday, but I'm feeling better now, so I'm cranking these out. Luckily, I'm starting this kind of early, so that way, it doesn't take me all day. So I will